Listen closely for a moment. That low, constant hum you hear in the background of our modern world, it isn't just the sound of progress, it is the sound of a massive digital thirst. Every time you ask an AI to solve a problem, every time a model generates an image or a piece of code, you are consuming a resource more volatile than oil and more precious than gold. We have been told that the cloud is ethereal, light, and clean. But today, in 2026, we are waking up to a much more brutal reality. The cloud is made of copper, steel, and above all, staggering amounts of electricity. Imagine a glowing data center, tucked away in a quiet valley. It looks serene, doesn't it? But inside, the grid is under siege. Right now, AI data center power consumption has hit 857 terawatt hours. Let me say that again so the scale really sinks in. 857 terawatt hours. That is an increase of 112% in just 3 years. We are witnessing a surge in energy demand that the world hasn't seen in decades. In fact, if you look at the patterns, the similarity between our current moment and the 1973 oil crisis is a shocking 82%. We are reliving history, but this time, the oil is the electricity required to power human-like intelligence. This isn't just a technical glitch in our power grid. It is the first domino in what could be a global financial collapse. We thought we could just plug in the future, but the wires are getting hot, very hot. Local economies are beginning to feel the friction. In some regions, the price of keeping the lights on is competing directly with the cost of training the next great algorithm. It is a zero-sum game that no one saw coming, and the bill is finally coming due. Now you might be thinking, wait, aren't chips getting more efficient? Shouldn't that solve the problem? It's a logical question. And on the surface, the numbers are incredible. The latest NVIDIA Blackwell chips have achieved an energy efficiency gain of 40,000%. Yes, you heard that correctly. 40,000% gain in efficiency. It sounds like a miracle. But here's where we encounter the efficiency demand paradox, also known as Jevons paradox. It is a concept that tells us something very counterintuitive. The more efficient we make a resource, the more of it we end up using. Think of it like a new highway. If you add more lanes to reduce traffic, it just encourages more people to drive, and soon, the highway is more congested than ever. AI is the same. Because the new chips are so efficient, companies are deploying them by the millions, not the thousands. This explosion in total demand is saturating the grid. We are in a state of stagflation 2.0. This is energy-driven inflation. Utility companies are looking at trillion-dollar upgrade costs just to keep up with the demand. And guess who they pass those costs to? That's right. The consumer, you. Visualize a great engine, trying to run faster and faster, but the oil is thick and full of sand. That is the friction we are feeling in the economy. This number 40,000% efficiency means absolutely nothing if the physical grid is saturated. We are hitting a wall, a physical electrical wall. And as the utilities struggle to keep the baseload power steady, the cost of everything that requires electricity begins to climb. It is a slow, steady pressure, a digital oil shock that is quietly eating away at the global economy's foundations. The deployment of the Blackwell architecture was supposed to be a pivot event for productivity, and it is. But it is also a pivot event for energy scarcity. We are seeing a world where digital oil is becoming the primary driver of the consumer price index. When the cost of power goes up, the cost of manufacturing, the cost of cooling, and even the cost of food, they all follow. We are trapped in a mechanism where our most advanced technology is creating our most primitive problem. How do we find enough fire to keep the cave warm? But the story doesn't end at the power plant. To see the full picture, we have to look up, way up, at the global web of debt. We are currently staring at a mountain of $102 trillion in global sovereign debt. $102 trillion, that is nearly 93% of the entire world's GDP. It is a number so large it's hard to visualize, but think of it as a ticking clock. Every second, the interest on that debt grows, and the governments of the world are running out of ways to pay it. In a desperate attempt to protect their own industries and raise revenue, we are seeing a return to 1930s-style protectionism. The effective tariff rate in the US has spiked to 17.5%. That is a 660% increase in just a few short years. Governments are building walls, both literal and economic. But here is the trap. Energy inflation is keeping prices high, which means central banks cannot cut interest rates as much as they need to. They are stuck. If they cut rates to help the government pay its debt, inflation explodes because of the energy crisis. If they keep rates high to fight inflation, the government defaults on its debt. We call this the fiscal fragility floor. It is a narrow, dangerous ledge where one wrong move leads to a plunge. Global debt to GDP is sitting at 235% if you include private sectors. The world is leveraged to the hilt, and now the energy crisis is acting as a massive weight on an already crumbling bridge. When a government can no longer afford its own interest payments, the market begins to panic. We saw this in January of 2026, when a 30-year bond auction saw almost zero foreign participation. The world is starting to look for an exit ramp. The trust that has held the system together for 80 years is beginning to fray at the edges. Imagine a giant game of musical chairs, but the music is slowing down and the chairs are being taken away one by one. The tariffs were supposed to be the solution, a way to bring jobs back and raise cash. But retaliatory cycles from other major economies have made the situation worse. We are in a revenue versus debt service trap. Every dollar earned in tariffs is being swallowed by the rising cost of servicing that $102 trillion debt. The math simply doesn't work anymore. The system is looking for a new source of value, something real, something physical, because government promises are starting to look like thin air. Let's put this into perspective. Many people look back at the 1970s and think we can just use the same solution today. Back then, Paul Volcker raised interest rates to 20% to break the back of inflation. It worked. But here's the catch. In 1973, global debt was only $400 billion. Today, it is $100 trillion. And if we tried a Volcker shock today, if we raised rates to 20%, every major government on Earth would go bankrupt within a week. It is a mathematical impossibility. So, where is the money going? If the smart money is no longer betting on government promises, where is it landing? The answer is hard assets. We are seeing a historic migration of capital. Investors are moving away from public bond auctions and into private, tokenized energy infrastructure. Look at BlackRock's BIDEAL fund, which has already hit $1.2 billion. Look at KKR, which has allocated a staggering $50 billion toward digital power infrastructure. They aren't buying government debt anymore, they are buying the wires, the reactors, and the power plants themselves. This is the shift from public power to private power. In the past, the government provided the infrastructure and the currency. Tomorrow, the currency may be the infrastructure. Private credit is bypassing the clogged public markets to fund the AI energy boom directly. Why? Because you can't default on a law of physics. A data center needs power, and whoever owns that power holds the real leverage. The hidden beneficiaries of this crisis aren't the banks. They are the infrastructure funds that are building a parallel economy, one powered by reactors and cooled by private capital. As we look at the map of the future, the destination is becoming clear. AI is the new oil, and energy is the new gold. We are seeing a radical revaluation of everything linked to power. Private investment in small modular reactors, or SMRs, has surged by 420%. Tech giants like Amazon and Google are no longer just software companies. They are becoming energy utilities, building their own nuclear reactors to ensure their survival. They know what the rest of the market is just starting to realize. In a world of devalued sovereign debt, the only thing that matters is the ability to generate and control energy. The US 10-year Treasury yield recently pivoted to 4.12%, a signal that the debt maturity cliff is here. But while the bond market shudders, the energy market is thriving. We are moving toward a reality where private energy infrastructure becomes the primary store of value. The through line of our era is simple. The exponential demand of AI is colliding with a record-breaking wall of debt, and the only way out is through the physical world. In the end, we must remember one thing: the most powerful algorithm in the world, the most brilliant AI, still obeys the laws of thermodynamics. You cannot create intelligence out of nothing. It requires heat, it requires light, and it requires power. We once backed our currencies with gold, then with the faith and credit of nations. Tomorrow, the only currency that may truly matter is the power required to keep the lights of intelligence burning. The invisible energy war has begun, and the map of the world is being redrawn 1 kilowatt at a time. Thank you for listening.